Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something, well, pretty mind-blowing about our planet's deep past.
Hmm.
Forget the blue marble image for a second. Imagine Earth billions of years back with oceans shimmering. Green.
It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there's solid research behind this.
Exactly. Recent work, primarily from Japanese scientists at Nagoya University, published in Nature and discussed by outlets like The Conversation.
It really forces us to rethink the conditions on early Earth.
So our mission today is to unpack this why green. What does it mean for early life? And maybe even for finding life elsewhere.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating link between geology, biology, and even astrobiology, a big shift from the familiar blue oceans we know.
Okay, let's set the scene. We're talking about the Archaean. What time frame is that, and what was Earth like?
We're looking at a huge chunk of time, roughly 3.8 down to maybe 1.8 billion years ago. And the key thing, very, very little free oxygen in the atmosphere or oceans.
No oxygen. Okay, and life.
Life was around, but it was mostly single-celled, living in the oceans. And those oceans, they were chemically very different.
How so?
The big one was iron. Dissolved iron concentrations were, well, astronomically higher than they are today. Just huge amounts of it sloshing around.
Right. Iron-rich seas, minimal oxygen. So how did early life cope?
They were clever. Early organisms, specifically the ancestors of what we now call blue-green algae or cyanobacteria,
Uh-huh.
they developed a way to get energy called anaerobic photosynthesis. Basically, using sunlight without needing oxygen, and crucially, they could use that abundant dissolved iron, ferrous iron, specifically in the process.
So they were actually using the iron.
Yes, it was a key resource for them. This was way before the Great Oxidation Event, when oxygen levels eventually started to rise because of these very organisms, ironically. But back then, iron was king.
Okay, so we have iron-rich water and these iron-using cyanobacteria. Where does the green color come in?
Good question. Two potential factors. First, the sheer amount of dissolved ferrous iron itself would likely have given the water a different hue, probably absorbing and scattering light differently than today's water. It wouldn't necessarily look blue.
Makes sense. Iron compounds can be colorful.
Exactly. And second, these early cyanobacteria had special pigments to capture sunlight, not just chlorophyll, but accessory pigments. One key one might have been something called phycoerythrobilin, or PEB.
PEB, okay, and what's special about it?
Well, P is particularly good at absorbing light in the green part of the spectrum. Its presence suggests these organisms might have been adapted to, or even thrived in, waters where green light penetrated more effectively.
So the water might have been greenish due to iron, and the life in it was potentially adapted for green light.
Precisely. It paints a picture of an environment quite specifically tuned to those conditions.
Now, this isn't just speculation based on chemistry, is it? You mentioned Japanese research.
Right, the team from Nagoya University did some really interesting work. They looked for modern analogs places today that might resemble the Archaean oceans in some ways.
And they found one.
They looked near the volcanic island of Iwo Jima. Around there, you find these unusual patches of green-hued water.
Green water near Iwo Jima. Why?
It turns out these waters are rich in oxidized iron Fe, likely from volcanic activity. And importantly, they support blue-green algae. It's a modern example of iron-rich water appearing green and hosting these kinds of microbes.
Wow. So it's like a little snapshot of the past.
In a limited way, perhaps. It shows the principle. Iron-rich water can look green and support cyanobacteria. It connects the chemistry to a visual observation.
Did they test the PEB idea too?
They did. They actually engineered some modern blue-green algae to produce this PEB pigment.
Seriously, they modified algae.
Yeah, and then they tested how well these modified algae grew under different light conditions. And guess what? They showed better growth when exposed to green light.
That's pretty convincing. It supports the idea that organisms with PEB would have had an advantage in greener water.
Exactly. It ties the pigment adaptation directly to the potential environment.
And they also use computer models.
Yes. Simulations helped explore what would happen as these early cyanobacteria started producing the very first traces of oxygen through their photosynthesis.
What did the models show?
They suggested that even small amounts of oxygen would react rapidly with the abundant dissolved ferrous iron near the surface, oxidizing at Fe7. This oxidized iron, like that seen near Iwo Jima, would also contribute to the green color.
So the life itself was helping to make the ocean green as it started to produce oxygen.
Kind of a feedback loop, yeah. Biology influencing the geochemistry and the appearance of the planet.
It really paints a picture of such an alien early Earth. This must change how we think about the origins of life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shifts our perspective on the cradle of life. The conditions weren't just watery. They were likely iron-rich, green, under an oxygen-poor sky. That specific environment shaped the earliest evolution.
It provides a different context for how those first complex biological processes got started.
Definitely. Different chemical resources, different light availability. It underscores how adaptable life is, but also how dependent it was on the specific planetary conditions at the time.
Thinking about ocean colors changing, I remember reading something. Wasn't there speculation about oceans turning purple in the distant future?
Ah, yes, the Cornell University work, which the conversation also touched upon. That's looking billions of years ahead.
Right.
The idea there is that as our sun ages, gets brighter and hotter, different photosynthetic pigments might become more advantageous. Some bacteria use pigments that absorb different wavelengths, potentially making widespread blooms appear purple.
So green in the past, blue now, maybe purple way down the line.
It's a possibility on those vast timescales, yeah. It highlights that planetary environments aren't static, though, as the conversation also noted, the very long-term forecast as the sun expands involves the oceans eventually boiling away entirely.
Okay, let's not get too apocalyptic. Back to the green Archaean oceans.
Yeah.
What does this mean for looking for life beyond Earth? Astrobiology.
This is where it gets really exciting, I think. For decades, we've looked for biosignatures, signs of life. Often that means looking for oxygen or specific gases.
Yeah.
But this research suggests that the color of a planet's oceans could itself be a biosignature.
How so?
Well, imagine using future telescopes to analyze the light reflecting off an exoplanet. If we saw a distinct greenish tint to its oceans, it might not mean vegetation like on Earth.
It could mean an iron-rich ocean with early-stage photosynthetic life like Archaean Earth.
Exactly. It suggests a potential pathway for life in an environment maybe low in oxygen, but rich in iron, using pigments like P or similar molecules adapted to that specific light and chemistry. It broadens the kinds of signs of life we should be looking for.
So, understanding our own planet's weird past helps us search for life on potentially weird alien planets.
Precisely. Earth's own history provides different templates for habitability. Life might arise and thrive in conditions that look very different from modern Earth. These ancient green oceans are a prime example.
We shouldn't just be looking for Earth 2.0, but maybe Archaean Earth 2.0?
Sort of, yes. Or planets with completely different chemical inventories that lead to other colors and other types of life. The key is understanding the link between geology, chemistry, light, and biology.
It's amazing that the color of water billions of years ago could guide our search for aliens today.
It really connects the deepest past to the biggest future questions, doesn't it? It emphasizes that life adapts to its environment, and those adaptations can leave large-scale, potentially detectable signatures.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The big takeaway seems to be Earth's oceans back in the Archean eon were likely green.
Probably due to a combination of high dissolved iron levels and the activity of early photosynthetic cyanobacteria using specific pigments.
And this discovery isn't just a cool historical fact. It reshapes our view of early life's environment.
And critically, it gives us new ideas for finding life elsewhere in the universe, suggesting ocean color itself could be a key biosignature.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If ocean color changed so dramatically, what other fundamental things about Earth were totally different back then? And how does that whole history of change inform what we consider habitable out there?
It's a profound question. It highlights just how dynamic planets are and how life co-evolves with its environment over geological time.
This has been incredibly fascinating. And for our listeners, especially those preparing for UPSC exams,
Yes.
this topic really hits that sweet spot, connecting earth science, biology, astrobiology. It's relevant for Maine's current affairs, thinking about planetary evolution, the origins of life, and potentially even prelims facts about Earth's history or biosignatures.
Definitely worth noting. Understanding these fundamental shifts in Earth's environment is key to grasping the bigger picture of planetary science and the potential for life beyond Earth.
If you found this deep dive into Earth's green past useful, please do like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment if you have more questions. We do try to read them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to read more, a key source for the information we discussed today is earth.com, which covered the Nagoya University research. Thanks for joining us.